So sometime when I was in high school, my dad bought one of those bundles from Costco. And I think he bought it for the purpose of like capturing big moments in life. So graduations, birthdays. Don't remember like what drew me to ask if I could borrow it, but I would bring it with me everywhere. I brought it with me to hangouts with friends, any and everything. Whatever it was about taking photos of friends, I love doing. Yeah, obviously I wasn't good. I think I just took them for the purposes of MySpace at the time. When I went off to college, I asked my dad if I could take the camera with me. Took it with me. It sat in my closet for months. I just never touched it. I was like, I don't want to be another Christian college kid who becomes a hipster, get into film photography. The second half of freshman year, LinkedIn was introduced to us, and so a lot of people were looking for headshots. Okay, I have a nice camera. I can take your pictures. Obviously, I'm going to need some practice, some experience, but pretty easy. I can just ask my hallmates, I can ask my roommates, some friends that I've made. And so I started taking these headshots of people for their LinkedIn pages, which now in hindsight, I'm like, what a side hustle, $20 headshots. Yeah, I was doing headshots for quite some time. I was taking people's like professional photos for their LinkedIn pages. And then some other departments on campus would ask me to take their professional headshots and then some group shots of all of them together. And then from there I was like, dang, I could really make this a thing. I could become a photographer. A couple of my roommates freshman and sophomore year were in very serious relationships, and so to practice more portfolio work for my photography that I had now chosen to pursue, I would take the shoots that are kind of awkward before you're engaged. I would take those photos for them, and I cannot tell you, I loved it. I loved the art of posing to people in an intimate way that exuded their story of their relationship. And I don't know, I think because I was an avid Pinterester, I loved taking couples photos. I don't know what it was, but it sparked in me something more creative than headshots did. And maybe now I'm like processing it. It's probably because it's more dynamic and there's a lot of movement and different things you can do, whereas a headshot obviously is just like a still person sitting and smiling at the camera. From there, I guess I have to say this at this point, I had the extreme advantage of going to a small private Christian college. If you're not familiar with this phrase, Google it. It's Ring by Spring essentially is this, I almost went to call it a movement, it's not. It's just a lot of young Christian folks getting married before the age of 25 and or getting engaged before they graduate college. Ring by Spring was definitely something that helped my business, let me tell you. A lot of people were getting into relationships. I made a lot of friends in college. I knew a lot of these relationships, and so they would ask me to take their photos, which was, at first, obviously I wasn't an expert. I wasn't familiar with what I was doing, and I was just kind of doing it for fun, but now looking back, like those little shoots here and there, like were obviously the reason that I am who I am today. As my friends were getting into relationships, they were also getting engaged, and then when they were getting engaged, obviously they were planning their weddings, and I did my first wedding in 2015. I remember just being there and feeling like a straight up imposter. You're telling me that this couple chose me, knowing that this is my first ever experience, to shoot the most important day of their lives, and they're okay with that. I also am pretty sure that I did that wedding for $200, which is, now I'm like, I could never do a wedding for $200 because of how much work it was. But yeah, I did my first wedding in 2015, and then from there I did about 5, 6, max 7 a year. I would just shoot weddings of people that I went to college with. Mostly my clientele was people that I knew from APU. And then it branched out into some cousins that were getting married up north in the Bay, and then some referrals, and here and there I was just doing less than 10 a year. When 2018 and 2019 rolled around, it was starting to pick up a lot. In those 2 years, I shot about 20 weddings. I cannot express to you, weddings are my jam. I think they're my bread and butter. My soul is so filled with so much love because it's a celebration of love. And there's so much humanity at a wedding. It's people from all parts of your life in one place with people from all parts of your significant other's life together, celebrating this destination you got to of marriage, knowing who you were leading up to this point. So I think it's just a beautiful day that I'll never take for granted that I get to be a part of, that I get to capture in such a candid, intimate, authentic way that feels most representative of the couple. Fast forward to 2020, so this current year, which we all know has been taken a bit back by COVID-19. The beginning of this year, I was planned to do about 35 weddings, which is a little over a wedding every other weekend, and some weekends were booked back to back, and things changed. Long story short, I picked up wedding photography because I went to a small private Christian school where a lot of friends were getting married. Thankful for that because I love all my friends. I adore each of the couples that I get to work with, and 80% of the time they're dear friends of mine, and then 20% of the time they're referrals from those dear friends of mine. So when I'm at weddings, and if I've shot your wedding and or if you've been to a wedding where I've been the photographer, you know that I weep. I just am with the couple crying all day. I can't hold it back, and I'm an emotional person, and I know that's in some cases unprofessional if I'm exuding my emotion, but weddings are so sacred to me, and I will never not express how much I support the love that I get to capture. And so you'll see me at weddings just running around, laughing with the guests at the wedding, getting really close with the moms and the dads of the bride and groom, becoming like the best of pals with the bridal party, and just laughing and crying and enjoying the celebration of the day. Weddings are so special to me, and if you're interested in becoming one or exploring what that could look like as a next step in your freelance business and or your side hustle as a photographer, please reach out. Please ask any of the questions because I've been there. I've asked all the questions to friends that were wedding photographers before me. I also recommend being a second shooter for a primary photographer. Over the years, I've had quite a few friends ask me to be my second shooter, and they've learned quite a bit about the art of wedding photography and what it takes to be on site at a wedding. I always recommend to friends who are looking to learn to be a second shooter and gain experience there so that one day they can do their own thing. Anywho, if you're somebody who's looking to learn, I really recommend getting curious about why you would want to shoot weddings and if you have a future in this industry. It's pretty demanding. A lot of weddings I'm there for about 6 hours, 8 hours, or sometimes like 14 hours from the getting ready in the morning up until the last dance, which sometimes within certain cultures will go until 1 a.m. And I'm specifically looking at you Vietnamese people, aka me. They could go all night. And I'm like, I gotta go home. But I want to be here because it's so fun and I feel like I'm a part of the party. I thought I hated the cha-cha slide because I felt like I couldn't hear it anymore without just losing my mind. But then I realized that they're the best dance photos because they get everybody onto the dance floor, and you can't argue with that. It's true. I guess I'll have to end with a shameless plug. If you're somebody who's looking for a wedding photographer who specializes in candid, authentic, intimate moments and will really become your #1 fan and cheerleader and just somebody who will be there for the ins and outs of your day and really support you, feel free to contact me. My information is in the link on my homepage.